Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And it is currently, let's see, 8:14 a.m. I went to bed again very early last night and got up very, very early this morning and was sitting out here drinking some tea. My throat has been itching from allergies, so I'm drinking this it's this Yogi brand throat soother tea that like helps my throat a lot in the morning. And I was reading meditations and doing my prayers and my gratitude lists and stuff like that this morning. And I was sitting out here, and as I've talked about in other videos, I do my prayers and I do my meditations and I do a gratitude list when I get up in the morning. Drink a glass of water or some tea or coffee, and then I just kind of sit here for a little bit with the universe, and then I ask myself, are you ready to start the day? And this morning, I didn't have any negative feelings or anything. I wasn't ready to start my day yet. I just was like, no, I just want to sit here and be part of the universe for a second, you know? And so I just sat here and I listened to all the sounds outside, and I listened to the people walking down the street. And when I get up early in the morning, there's this group of 4 women that walk down the street, and I can hear them probably about a half a mile away talking, and they're always talking about different things, and I don't know why that just cheers me up so much. And you know, then I can hear, like, you know, the pitter-patter of people running down the street, jogging in the morning, and people letting their dogs outside, and I can hear the dogs barking and the birds. And you know, and there's some people fishing over here, and I can hear them fishing, and it's just very soothing in the morning. And I wasn't ready to start my day. I was just like, no, I just want to be, you know, part of the universe this morning. And so I was sitting here, and the only reason I'm sharing this is because it's not something that I typically do, and I think it's something that I want to start doing. And I think it's a good practice, and that's why I'm sharing it. I'm not sharing it for like pats on the back or, oh, that's such a sweet thing. I'm sharing it to maybe pass this on to other people. Maybe it's something that we can all start doing, you know? And so I texted my husband, who had just left like an hour before, and I texted him and I said, oh, I got up early again this morning, and I hope that you have a great day, and we miss you already, meaning Boo and I love you, and I hope you have a great day. And he texted me right back, and he said, have a great day too, I love you. And then I texted my friend Tanya Jean, and I said, just thinking of you this morning. I got up early and just wanted to say that I hope that you have a great day and that I love you. And she texted me back, love you as well. And you know, I think to send positive messages in the morning to people might be a thing that I want to start doing. And, you know, I talk in my vlogs, at the end of my vlogs, about reaching out to people and letting them know how much they mean to you. I think to wake up to a text message, you know, I mean, often why I don't want to start my day is because I don't want to, you know, be like, oh, I have this going on today or that going on today, or this text message or this doctor's appointment, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, often, like, when we start checking our emails or our text messages or social media or whatever, it's like, you know, it feels kind of toxic, and then all of a sudden we're like, you know, like, it's overwhelming. But to wake up to a text message saying, hey, I just want to let you know I was thinking of you and have a great day today, you know, reminds me of when I was a kid, and my mom would put little notes in my lunchbox from time to time that would say, you know, like, love you, happy Halloween, or hope you're having a great day, or whatnot, you know. And it made me feel very loved. And so I thought, okay, I think this is a practice that I want to start, you know. But anyway, the last 2 nights I've gone to bed very early. 2 nights ago I went to bed at about 11:30, something like that, and got a full night's sleep. And so last night it was cooler outside, and so I was thinking to myself that I was going to lay down for like an hour. I went up to bed with Alex about 10:30, 11, and he was watching a show, and so I was just going to lay in bed and then get up and watch some shows. And I thought, it's kind of cold outside tonight. I don't know that I really want to put on my heated vest or a coat. And so I thought, I'm just going to try to get another good night's sleep. And so I went to bed, and I was just like laying there talking to him and listening to his show, and I fell asleep, I think, somewhere around midnight. And got up about 7:30 today, 7:30, and I came out here and, like I said, was doing my stuff. So anyway, I read several meditation books, and I haven't done a meditation video over here in a while. And it was interesting because all of the meditation books that I was reading were all about kind of the same thing, about looking internally, looking into myself. And, it's interesting when I read between, 4, 6, 8 meditation books a day. And typically I don't read the Melody Baby ones. I typically save those for this channel. And so I just kind of go in there and I pick, 4 to 6 out or whatever to read. Sometimes I read more than that, but typically about 4 to 6. And, sometimes it's like every book that I read will be completely different, and sometimes they're very, very similar. And this morning, like every book that I read, the message was very similar about like looking inside and looking at yourself and doing the work on yourself and things like that. And so I thought, this is interesting. Like, is there a message in the universe that I need to be looking internally and things like that? And so 2 of the books that I read had very, very similar messages, and I wanted to read them to you. And the first one is Meditations for Living in Balance. They kind of like, these were the order that I read them in, and they also kind of go in this order. So the first one is from Meditations for Living in Balance, Daily Solutions for People Who Do Too Much. And the second one is The Soul's Companion, Connecting with the Soul Through Daily Meditations. So I want to read these to you because I thought that they were fantastic meditations about loneliness and looking inside. And it's August 16th, so let me pull up these meditations. So the first one is called Loneliness. Loneliness. Loneliness is often the missing of ourselves. Loneliness is one of the most feared states in modern life. Perhaps this fear has come about because so many of us have a vague awareness of a surging river of loneliness deep inside. Much of our activity and busyness is designed to keep that river within its banks. Maybe loneliness has received a bad rap in today's world. Maybe loneliness is one of the ways our inner being communicates with us, letting us know that we need to take the time to get back in touch with ourselves. Could it be that the emptiness we feel in our solar plexus and try so hard to avoid is a friendly reminder that something or someone has gone missing? We, ourselves? Try as we might, we can never fill up this void with anything outside ourselves, any person, activity, or thing. We can wear ourselves out trying to fill up this hole. But this approach alleviates the feeling for only a short while. Eventually, we have to get back to ourselves. We are, after all, why we're here. When we are lonely, it's usually a signal that we need to spend some time with ourselves. The next time you get this signal, try taking some time alone. And I love this meditation because, I talk often on my channels, especially in my vlog, about I don't have many people in my life. I think it's kind of a misconception that people think that I have. I don't know, maybe they don't think that, but I just kind of get the impression that people think that I'm just like flooded with friends and people in my life and things like that. And I really don't, I really have just a few friends, 1 or 2 very, very dear friends, and then a few, friends in recovery. And Alex and I have a few couple friends that we hang out with, and then I have, many acquaintances in recovery and things like that. But typically throughout the day, it's funny when I'm with people because their phones go off constantly. Like when I was just on this trip in Arizona, my friends, their phones were going off constantly. And like my phone, I never receive texts or phone calls from people throughout the day. And I almost don't realize like how little I receive text or phone calls unless I'm around other people throughout the day, like my cousin Caroline or Tanya or Alex or someone like that, or these friends that I was with, because I don't really realize that I only maybe get like 1 or 2 texts a day, and it'll be like Alex saying he's on his way home, or, you know, Tanya in the evening or something like that. I very rarely receive text messages from, I mean, if you look through my phone, you would laugh. It's laughable because I literally get like 1 or 2 texts a day, you know? And then phone calls, I mean, like Alex might call me on his way home from work, or, you know, sometime throughout the day, and, well, that's not true. Alex and I text quite a bit throughout the day, so, like, just checking in with each other and stuff like that. But typically, like, the main texts that I get are, like, from Alex saying that he's coming home at the end of the day, and Tanya. So, like, between Tanya and Alex, like, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't receive any text, you know? And then I talk to Tanya in the evening, and I talk to my sponsor, but I usually call her. And, you know, like my friend Melissa, I might talk to like once a week. My friend Mel, I might talk to like once a week. You know, Nikki, I might talk to like once a week. But typically I don't, you know, I'm not a big phone talker and things like that. So I enjoy talking on the phone, but, you know, I might have like 1 or 2 phone calls a day or something like that, but I usually reach out to those people. And so it's like my phone doesn't, I don't really, anyway, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, but it's interesting, this feeling of loneliness. I think sometimes loneliness is something that other people put on you, because often, like when I talk about it in vlogs and things like that, you know, people will say things like, well, you seem very lonely, or, you know, you seem like you're alone a lot. And I think we sometimes equate being alone with loneliness, which, in all honesty, the truth is, I'm laughing because I enjoy it. I enjoy being alone, you know? I think part of it for me is that I'm an only child, and when I was growing up, I spent, I love those sounds of summer. I spent so much time alone, you know? And playing in the world of imagination and coming up with games of my own, reading in my room, things like that. I didn't feel necessarily lonely a lot. I don't think I felt lonely until I realized, you know, it's sometimes like when you don't really realize what you don't have until you see what other people have, things like that. I don't know that I felt lonely until I realized that other people had friendships that I didn't have and things like that. I never really felt that there was anything wrong with me, you know, being alone and things like that. But I did spend a lot of time alone, you know. I did have friends in the neighborhood and things like that when I was growing up, but I spent a lot of time alone, and I've always spent a lot of time alone, and I don't mind it. I love watching my shows alone and reading books and listening to audiobooks and, you know, sitting on my front porch and just kind of relaxing or drinking coffee. I enjoy that, you know. And it's also a really great time for me to be introspective. If you watch my Peter Does Stuff channel recently, when I was on Arizona, if you haven't watched this, you should, because it's something I would typically do over here. But I bought a sketchbook because I wanted to start a happiness journal. And what I decided that I was going to do was that on one side of the page with like colored Sharpies, I was going to do a list, or I was going to write a list for each day of all the things that make me happy. And then in talking to Mel and Nikki, and we were talking about gratitude, that on the flip side of that paper, I'm going to do a written gratitude list. And I was going to start it like on the day that I came back, and write about all the trip and everything like that. But I thought, no, I think I'm going to start this September 1st. I think September 1st would be a good time to start it. So I'm going to start that on September 1st. But I enjoy like just sitting and thinking up ideas, and, you know, that's something that I enjoy doing. I also do some of my most introspective work on myself, thinking, you know. My sponsor will give me assignments, like my therapist will give me assignments, and those are things that I can sit to myself and think about, you know, and do some work on myself. I think today we're quick to want to say things about people. I'm like hesitant to say this because I almost don't want to say something that people will take offense to. But I think today, like, I was going to make the statement, like, I almost, when I'm around large crowds of people, or when I'm like in groups of people, like, I almost kind of get a little nervous, or, you know, I'm very like shy, and I'm very, you know, introspective and introverted. If I'm in a small group of people that are friends of mine, I'm not like that. I'm very extroverted and, you know, entertained and things like that, and loud and boisterous sometimes. But typically, if I'm in large groups of people, like, I almost kind of get closed in. I don't like being around large groups of people and things like that. If we're going to go to a movie, I want to go to a late movie where there's not a lot of people, and on, you know? And I think in today's time, we kind of go to this immediate thing where a lot of people will say, oh, well, maybe you're on the spectrum, or maybe this, you know, I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I always have been. I don't know. All I know is that I don't do well around large groups of people. I actually do better by myself, or just with one or two other people. It's where I feel safe. And I think there's many reasons for this, from being an only child to being bullied to whatever, but I enjoy spending time alone, and I think it's a good time for me to do a lot of introspective work. I don't want to be always alone. I think that that's the flip side of that, right? Is that for very long periods of my life, I've had to be very, very careful that I'm not isolating, because my love of being alone can translate into isolation at times, where I just don't interact with people all day long, which is actually why it's been really good for me to sit on my front porch and interact with my neighbors a lot. Or my neighbors will say, hey, we're gonna go to the pool, do you wanna go to the pool with us today? And I try to say yes. If Tanya asks me to do something, I try to typically say yes. When Melissa asks me to do something, I say yes. It's why I went on this girls trip. Because I try not to isolate, because I can isolate very, very easily and just be in my own little world, you know, and if it weren't for my husband, there wouldn't be a lot outside of that. But I think that there is this misconception in the world that loneliness is being alone, when that's not necessarily the case for me, you know. Hey, how are you? Good. I can enjoy time alone and not be lonely. But I think that when I'm feeling that feeling that there's something missing inside, like the meditation was referring to, when I am alone and there's something I feel like there's missing, then I need to start taking a look at that and say, well, is this a need to spend time with other people, or is this a need to do some work on myself? Because it can be both, you know? And I think that that's a great meditation. So then I want to get into the Soul's Companion, because it kind of feeds off of this a little bit. Which these are not by the same authors or anything, so I thought this was really interesting that I picked up this one right after that and went right into this. Alone in the Presence of the Self. August 16th, Alone in the Presence of the Self. When I do not allow myself the time to develop in a relationship with my own soul, I leave myself open to countless maladies. I am alone in the presence of myself. Being alone in the presence of self is the worst kind of aloneness. There is something very disturbing about not being able to be comfortable with my own insides. The reason that a process of introspection is so vital on the road toward self is just this. When I sit quietly with myself, all the unfinished business, old hurts, and unquenched longings begin to rumble around and make themselves felt to me. If I cannot sit through this process of feeling my painful feelings, sorting through them and resolving them, I really cannot sit with myself, because sitting with myself is too painful. When I have sorted out the problem and learned methods of sitting with inner pain, I am able to sit through these feelings so that I can eventually get to serenity in self. I am willing to sit with all of who I am. Neurosis is the way of avoiding non-being by avoiding being. Paul Tillich. And I love that meditation, because basically what it's saying is that sometimes we have to sit by ourselves. We have to sit alone with ourselves. Be just with ourselves, you know. That being with other people is a complete distraction, you know. That being constantly on and with other people and things, you know, and like, la, 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 la. And trust me, I like doing that in small groups of people when I'm with my friends, right? But sometimes I come home and it's so overwhelming, I just want to go, you know, even when it's just one or two people. It's a lot, you know, and I enjoy it, but it's a lot. And so I think because I do so much self-introspection and things like that, that we have to feel comfortable first with sitting by ourselves, you know. So that feeling of being alone is not necessarily being lonely, you know. Maybe that feeling of saying, gosh, I'm so alone, I'm so lonely. Like when people say, I feel lonely, you know, I don't have any people in my life. Maybe that is your opportunity to get reconnected with yourself and getting to know yourself all over again, you know. One of the things that I was recommended early on in my first breakup, major breakup, that I recommend to other people now is take a good 6 months to a year off to yourself. Get to know yourself again, you know. Spend time by yourself. Read a book, you know. Spend some time at home by yourself. take a walk by yourself, you know, or whatever it is that you enjoy doing by yourself. But spend some time with yourself, you know. And I think some of us are afraid to do that. I think some of us, when we sit by ourselves, really don't want all of those thoughts in our head because we don't know what to do with that, you know. And that's scary to us. And maybe that's why we don't want to be alone. And therefore we equate that to loneliness, you know. This need to constantly be surrounded by people. Instead of just being comfortable with ourselves, you know, which is, for me, ultimately the greatest peace. Anyway, let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.